Blood Hunt is at the top of the heap this week on another episode of Pals Pulls. Now the question is, does it are we turning on Blood Hunt? That's the question. That's the question among several other questions that I have for the panel tonight. We have a full house. We've got Cale.
What's up, blood dogs?
Well,
We've got Marco.
bratwursts.
Tyler.
How about just brought instead?
And I'm Sean. And we have five
Count 'em.
of this week's biggest books, the aforementioned Blood Hunt. I got the red band version.
You got an extra double page spread.
Yeah. We've got Ultimate X-Men #4. Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age #1. Now, you might notice I am not, in fact, holding up Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age #1. I will explain more about that later. Geiger #3. And the listener pick poll winner this week, Transformers #9. So we've got some pretty hot books on deck. Most importantly of all, we have you. Thank you for joining us, hanging out with us, whether that's live or in the future. Let's dive right into our first book. Let's talk Blood Hunt #3. This is written by Jed MacKay with art by Pepe Larraz, colors by Mark DeGracia. Great artist team there. So, and Corey Pettit on the letters, of course. So, last time we had the Avengers get their lick back on the badass vampire guys. And this issue opens with Miles Morales feeling the effects of being turned into a vampire. You know, he's going nuts. You know, you got Dracula in the mix. It's not a lot happened in this issue. Not a lot.
This felt like issue 2.
Yep.
This was paced more like an issue 2.
Yeah.
And if it had been issue 2, I probably would have been like, oh, this is okay. But it's 3.
I also figured that, Sean, you'd get the red band. Where was it? Like, what happened that warranted?
This
Not much.
This was the rip-off issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Miles fucking zapped somebody a little too hard? Like, what?
This was the rip-off issue. There was nothing that necessitated a red band version in this. Like, I guess this in the regular edition? This double page?
No, that was a single page. That's the speech, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sam Wilson Cap gives a great speech in this issue.
A 4-page speech, mind you.
Yeah. And you know, that's nice. Like, great, good speech, I guess. I don't know. I'm not emotionally invested in this event. I really can't find my way into it emotionally because stakes, I think, are hard to drum up in superhero comics. We've
Not a
seen
vampire book.
we've seen it all. We've seen endless death. I mean, it's just nonstop. Nice one, Kill.
Yeah.
And you know, we're just seeing like people get annihilated, right? And so that's cool, but we are not looking at it on the ground level. We're looking at it from the Avenger level, and nothing bad's really happening to them. This just doesn't feel like that big of a deal. So Sam's speech, like, nothing has happened. Who cares? Some civilians died, whatever.
This is what you call the Teen Titans in 4.
Well, they're in Borneo. Is this also the same exact speech that was in the Avengers #5? Because he mentions it.
It sure felt like it.
Yeah, right?
Man.
I'm curious to know if it's like the exact same speech or not.
I read it and I said, this feels familiar, and I am upset about it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, there really truthfully isn't a lot to talk about in this issue because so little happened. I mean, Miles is a vampire. Okay.
3 seconds.
Yeah. Sure.
How does that get cured? Eye of Agamotto just cures vampirism?
Bright light.
I have no idea. I have no idea. Like I think he still is a vampire. He just regained control.
Oh, okay.
I think.
I read that as vampirism went away, but the effect, like the physical effects, are still there.
Okay.
You're a day walker now, I guess. Well, I guess in that case, I don't know. I wasn't clear.
And also, it's gonna be cleaned up. They're not gonna have Miles well, maybe they will. I highly doubt they're gonna have Miles Morales be a vampire. It's kind of like Beast World, which we got last year, where they're showing us stuff that's kind of cool, right? Batman turning into a werewolf and all this kind of stuff like that, but it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't stick. It goes away within the event itself, right? So it's just not that compelling. The most interesting thing is what's up with Blade, but they're not trying to tell us what's up with Blade.
And we know something's up with Blade, but what's the real mystery there? It doesn't feel like there's a mystery to that either.
No, this book is flat, honestly.
And it's wild too because Pepe Larraz's art, like this, feels like a vampire horror film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like the art is on just a whole other level. But this event feels like nothing.
Yeah.
Like why did we get an inspiring speech when nothing has happened in issue 3?
Right. Just like in universe, obviously people are dying by the thousands, but I can't connect with that scale of violence because it's so spread out and the book just isn't focused on making me concerned with that. So it feels like Jed McKay is trying to have a moment. He's trying to give Sam a moment. It's a good idea. It just isn't earned by anything that has happened in the pages that we have seen. It's not earned.
It's just repeated, panels of locations that have been decimated by vampires. It's like I have no connection here.
Right.
And even the whole the premise this book leaves off with, it leaves us in 3 separate directions. Like Doctor Strange's stuff going on with Clea, then Fist of Khonshu and Tigra team up with some shrouded mystery character. We don't even know who that is.
Other one.
And then the Avengers doing it. So I'm like, oh, okay. So those are the tie-ins I have to read now because that's not going to be in the main book. That just like reeked of like, oh, I got to read those other books now. And I see the checklist afterwards. I'm like, all right, where's the central story really happening in this?
I thought it was happening in Blood Hunt, but nothing is happening in Blood Hunt. I feel like this event could really benefit from a tie-in that takes it seriously. Like, Blood Hunt the Resistance, and it's actual civilian people trying to fight this off. Just something that allows us to get connected to the layperson in this, because this is not really a threat to superheroes. They're going to win, right? Like Iron Man is not in danger of being killed and turned into a vampire. This is a problem for civilian people. So show us the ground level. And it just doesn't care about that. Go ahead, Marco.
No, I was going to say, shitty situation to be a New Yorker in the Marvel Universe, man. First, this year, vampires. Last year, Celestial was threatening the world. No breaks, man.
But you reference AXE Judgment Day. That was an event that dealt with, whether you like the way it was handled or not, ultimately, it did deal with civilian people, right, and what they were dealing with.
And I think that helps to ground.
I thought so.
I mean, it looks good. The book, that much I can give it. It looks good, and I think some of the tie-ins are really good. But the main story is just floundering for me.
It has no heat. It just doesn't.
And,
Just
and that,
Well, heat
I
is
would-
real bad for vampires anyway, so that kind of makes sense.
you would also hope that this would be led with a Blade book, like that would be the through line here, or Daughter of Blade, whatever. And if you look at the checklist, that doesn't exist. It's ancillary to one of the main characters that we have here.
because Blade is bad. Blade is the villain here. So how do you have a Blade book when Blade's the bad guy?
Well, give me the daughter then.
She had a single issue. Yeah, she had it. It's under the Dracula. It was like Bloodhunt Dracula or something. That was
Dracula.
where that story gets introduced. Is there more issues of that? Does it say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
issue 2 is coming
Okay,
up. Yeah.
so I guess that's where that story is going to be told.
Hmm.
But even like splitting it up into those teams, it's like the Avengers are like, all right, we got to take it to Blade and Blood Coven. You did not do too well last time. Like, sure, directly afterwards you were able to do something, but you're severely outnumbered. So it didn't even feel like a proper regroup. Usually a regroup's like a regroup, all right, and then we have to readjust the team lineup or something, and maybe these characters could split off in different directions each instead of the assumed direction each one would go in. It just feels weird.
Don't worry, Tyler. Their eyes are open now, and they said no.
Also, I just looked at Avengers 5. It's the whole, like, we say no is what was repeated. So not the full speech, but a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
Excerpt.
Pass. I think Blood Hunt is heatless. It's weightless. I was really, really thinking that we might I allowed myself to get tricked into getting excited about this event, which was a mistake. But I just was feeling good about Marvel, and I love event season, and everybody tells me how good Jed McKay is, but this is rough. This is no better than any event that I have read in recent memory. In fact, it's far worse than a lot of other ones. This is night terrors ish. Like, there's just nothing to this. Thank goodness that the art is phenomenal. Pepe Larraz and Martha Gracia are undefeated, but boy, oh boy.
Rami asks, what's the difference between this and King in Black? I think King in Black actually was a culmination of a particular creator's story that was seeded throughout multiple years and issues. In terms of what McKay has been seeding, I think the most seeding he's been doing for the vampire story that's happening here is in his Moon Knight run. And even that is very small compared to the scale of this. This kind of just blew up. So it feels a lot more sudden.
The vampire stuff has been building sort of in the background for a long time.
Sure, yeah, but not from Jed, really.
Sure, but it sure is a shame that this is the event that this leads to.
But what's crazy, Cale, is that what you're saying is right, but the book doesn't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Like, we know those things are true. We know they've been building towards an event of this nature, but the book doesn't play on the history at all. It's like it's so obsessed with being accessible that it's just rejecting all history.
The whole premise of what was building up with vampires was they made their own vampire country almost. It pretty much where Chernobyl is, where humans can't live. And they made their own nation, almost Krakoa-esque. And that was being built up with Dracula, almost more like a global power. That is referenced as a side note in this book.
Yeah.
So it's not even directly referencing what the buildup was.
Hey, Steve. Steve says, good evening, Comics Pals. It's bedtime here in Berlin, but I just wanted to stop by to say hi and looking forward to catching up on the rewatch tomorrow while I'm at work. Have a great chat. Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks for checking in with us all the way from Berlin. That's awesome. You should fall asleep to the voices of the Comics Pals.
That vampiric rest.
Love to see everybody saying hi. Love everybody tuning in live with us. You guys that spend your Thursdays with us, Thursday afternoons, I love it. I love it. Who else did I want to say hi to? The Neighborhood Merc. This is the first time I've been able to watch the show live. Love this show, guys. Love you. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you tuning in live. Hello, Dan. Hello, Roboters. Tilo, what's up? Rami, what's up? Good to see you. Moonarch. Moonarch says, this is why I really like Beast World. The main story took place in those 6 issues, and the tie-ins were just supplementary stories, just fun to read.
You're not wrong about that.
Through line. It's there.
I'm not sure I cared much for Beast World, but it did have a clear main story it was telling in the main book.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why can't we get back to character-driven events? Like events that are driven by the actions of characters. You know, not, oh man, vampires, or oh shit, beasts, or oh my god, we're all tired. Like every event just has this odd theme. Like why?
Is that an event though, or is that a story arc?
What?
I mean,
But
if it's just
that's what all this is sold on.
but what I mean is there, like, this very well could have been self-contained to a singular character, a singular title, and just been an arc within that. That doesn't feel like an event. Like, I think Cale said it earlier, they blew this up, or somebody said earlier, they blew this up into that. And to what you're saying, Sean, that feels more like an individual story arc for a character than it does a event. Like, that's like, in my mind, I'm picturing the Devil in Cell Block D, but somehow it ties into this larger narrative. Everything's going on around in New York City, when realistically you could just keep that story isolated.
I mean, like, look, this could be an event. It could not be an event. I guess whatever they want to do, make it matter. You know, it just doesn't. It just feels like fluff. And you know, I know that there are a lot of events that aren't great, but the era that I came from, you know, the era that I started reading comics in, all the events there, you know, played on what was happening in the books. Um, you know, whether you like them or not, like World War Hulk is not a good event in my opinion, but regardless of that fact, if you were reading Marvel comics at the time, it makes sense how they got to that story.
You don't even need to go back that far. Secret Empire did it. And then they referenced Secret Empire in this, as, you know, when Hydra took over. But, like, Secret Empire was a pretty straightforward main story that was character focused.
Yeah.
Well, and then even when you look at like Civil War, you know, granted that is as far back as Tyler says, but you know, it's an event that's focused on this argument essentially between Captain America and Iron Man. You know, like this could be focused on Blade and Dracula and whatever's going on between them. It's not.
Well, in Civil War, it's also specifically relevant what each individual character will do. And
Yeah,
the story
absolutely.
turns on the decisions that only they can make. You cannot swap out Captain America for some other character, because they would do very, very different things. And that's what makes it feel interesting. Blood Hunt, so far, no one has done anything that anyone couldn't do. You know, it doesn't really matter who the players are. The speech that Sam gave, Steve Rogers could just as easily have given. Or
Captain Marvel could have.
Yeah, or Captain Marvel could have, or Iron Man could have, or, you know, whoever. It didn't have to be him.
Well, he's the icon, though.
Right. MP asks, what's the best examples of character-driven events at both Marvel and DC? Well, I would say Civil War is a very good example of that. I think that Secret Invasion, if you consider the run in, the lead into that stuff, House of M is character driven, as far as I'm concerned. Secret Wars is, you know, all these events are built on characters making choices.
I think more recently, King in Black is a good one. That's the culmination of a Venom run that kind of leaves more of a crater and affects everything else. And even there was a Daredevil one recently with Chip. I always forget. Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a Daredevil fan, that is a Daredevil event essentially. That is gorgeous looking.
And maybe that's to what you were saying earlier, Sean. Like, you bring it down to the character. Just bring it a step closer to the ground, so we're not scrambling for all of this. You don't have to fit everything into this. Make it feel so grandiose. Because you can do that within the pages of A Devil's Reign. I think that's a really good example because we had a blast with that.
But even like make it feel grandiose, but put it from the perspective of a character. You know, like if we'd been building to this with Blade and then all of a sudden Blade's the bad guy, whoa, holy shit. Right? Like that feels massive. We've been following this guy the whole time and he's a bad vampire. And now I have to trust Dracula? Whoa.
It's just wild that Marvel does not know what to do with Blade in any sense of the word. It's such a...
In any medium.
yeah, in any medium. It's such a simple premise, too. Like, come on.
Comic Boom says, is Blood Hunt accessible? Yeah, it is completely accessible. I think you can buy it and not feel lost at all. And I also don't think you have to read tie-ins either. You can just read the issues that are coming out, and you will understand everything that's happening. Whether you will like it or not is a different question, but will you understand it? Yes.
Or you can read the Amazing Spider-Man tie-in, which had the words written down on the page. It's Morbin time this week.
Hell yeah.
Okay, we've got more books to get into. Before we do that, I do want to let you guys know about a big celebration that is coming up this Saturday, our 400th episode of our main show. We will be bringing to you guys live at 10:15 a.m. Eastern. The secret origin of the Comics Pals will be revealed. We're going to be doing some giveaways, and we're going to get into our #1 picks of the top 5 moments in Comics Pals history. If you want to join us and help us celebrate, not only should you come hang out with us live, but you can send us messages of any type, whether it's video, audio, written, and we will integrate those into the show if you get them to us, before Saturday morning. You can write us or email us at contact@thecomicspals.com. If you want to send us something, that's the best way to do that. But you can also DM us, whatever you want to do. We want to hear from you guys on this. This is a big, momentous occasion, and we want to celebrate it.
I'm excited about my #1. Are you guys?
Yeah.
I know mine. It's going to blow your socks off.
Mine's been stated already, but I have my own take on it.
Yeah, I'm excited about mine. I can't wait for it. Okay, let's get into Ultimate X-Men #4. Peace Momoko on pretty much everything here. So this issue gives us sort of more of what we've been getting, slice of life stuff. Armor is still, just sort of hanging out, meeting creepy dudes in the middle of the street. Man, did anybody here really, really like this?
I enjoyed it. I thought this was the best one so far because I felt like something was happening, and I can see at least a cast of characters coming together for a reason. And I can see maybe issue 5 being the one that's like, all right, we have a book now, but it does feel like it's still building blocks. Very gorgeous building blocks, but it's still building.
I see the characters coming together. Cool, we're forming a team. But I'm lost at our lead here. Sean alluded to it. Like, she's just meeting these randos, and then we have to react to that. And it's hard to react to that when I don't know who these are outside of being connected to a character who I've not met, unless it's a flashback and I'm being told I have to have a emotional relationship to that character because of the protagonist. And that's a lot of proxies for me to make an emotional tie. I found this really frustrating. The entire sequence where you have her running, like going away, and then I guess the mom or the brother, whoever it was, was like, "Oh, what happened to your bike?" And then it flashed back into that's 3 pages I didn't need. That sequence literally could have just continued from there. So the pacing continues to be off in this, and I'm very frustrated by that. Um, the art continues to be really good, but I think because it feels so scattered, I'm I'm not happy with this book, and I was so excited for it, and unfortunately, issue over issue, it's kind of disappointed me in its presentation.
Let me just quickly take a moment to respond to Triple Ho, who said, Blood Hunt, regular versus explicit content version. What's your take? So, Triple, first of all, welcome to the show. Haven't seen your name before. Thanks for hanging out with us. And I do want to answer your question. So, I got the Blood Hunt or the Blood Hunt Red Band version. I made the decision that I'm going to get Red Band every time. But this time around, it really didn't feel like it was worth it. It's an extra page and some extra dialogue boxes here. But because most of this issue is just talking, there really aren't any spaces for them to showcase why this needed a red band, which makes it frustrating that I essentially gave Marvel an extra dollar for a page and some dialogue boxes. So I would say that it's not worth your money this time around. But I will continue to buy the red band because I decided that that's what I'm gonna do. Hope that answers your question.
But
There couldn't have been anything in the dialogue boxes that would have been
Yeah.
plot relevant.
not a dollar's worth. So you break that dollar into percentage of pages, it way too. Yeah. Well, back to Ultimate X-Men.
It's pretty rough when the manga head turns on your manga book.
It's true. The one question I have throughout this, and I feel like it needs to be addressed, is like this seems like a world where nobody really has powers, right? I mean, we can assume that for the Ultimate Universe based on the other Ultimates books that we've been reading. What is causing? Essentially, it seems like a whole bunch of girls in the same school to suddenly have powers.
Sounds like story to me. Sure
but I would wish that part would be brought up, you know?
Yeah.
Dude, Nagasaki.
Is this like yokai based? Is this Shadow King a yokai? And is this going to be tied in with Japanese folklore? It would be nice to know these things.
But that would be a cool premise because that's all
Yeah.
Demon Days was, right?
Sure,
It was
yep.
formulated around the yokai. It was formulated around the history of Japan. It was formulated around. That's why that book worked so well in reinventing who the X-Men were, or within that specific purview. But this is in the modern world. It's within a brand new universe. I can appreciate you trying to make it new, but for me, make it gripping. And it hasn't been. Cool designs, cool character designs, great art.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm at the point where I'm reading this just because we are. Like it doesn't do anything for me. The visuals are like they stay great, but that's not enough for me. I need a story to really connect with, and I'm not getting that here. And I just don't feel satisfied, and I'm struggling to see sort of how I could, but I know that people are enjoying it, and so that's cool, but there's just nothing here for me. Pass.
Yeah, pass.
Yeah, and if you're enjoying it in chat, I would love to
Yeah,
hear that because
same.
that's just our perspective on it. But I want to hear your guys' take because I wanted to love this really hard.
I think this will probably read better in trade to a degree, but even still, like, there's no connection to anyone. This so far it seems like it's around, these kids who are, killing themselves. And there's just no real connection to any of them. Even the one that, you know, does it on the page, like I don't have any connection to this kid. He just shows up and looks creepy and then he's possessed by the Demon King. So like, what do I have there? He's just a body.
Right. It's just vibes, like it's nothing concrete. D13CJ says, I say you're wrong about Ultimate X-Men, but it is what it is. Well, welcome. Thank you for joining us and voicing your opinion. I haven't seen your name before. Thank you for hanging out with us. Okay, so then why are we wrong? Like can you explain your perspective on what we're saying that you disagree with? Because I'm open to that. I'm very unlikely to agree with you, but I'm definitely open to hearing about it. I already know that this book isn't going to go, it's not going my way. It's not for me. But I would love to hear your perspective.
And why it works for you.
Yeah.
And Sean, even the first appearance of Surge, Ultimate Surge, they couldn't do anything for you.
No.
Damn.
I can't care because I know that these characters have nothing to do with the characters that I like. So like she's called Armor, right? Like it is Hisako in name, but not in character. There's no relationship to the 616 version. So why would I care? She could be called anything.
Oh, one question on the end. This is a world where there are no powers, presumably, but then, why was it a big deal that people were taking pictures and she's like exposed, the world now knows, but those kids know, regardless of whether or not they have a picture.
Well, yeah, but having evidence is, a different matter.
Sure, but when I can go like, yeah, me and 50 other kids all saw the same thing, or rather, a step back from that, what is the issue with being known?
I think it's the middle school trope of, oh no, I have a secret and everybody's found out.
Yeah.
It's
Fussy
like the girl
Brussy with the $2 super chat saying, I'm not supporting White Storm.
You know what? I appreciate you supporting us with the money you could be supporting White Storm with, and I can dig that.
And technically, is Asian Storm, so
still POC.
That's like Sicilian saying they're people of color.
Rocky 56 says, thank you, Fussy, by the way. Rocky says, it's moving too slow and seems like the entire book could have been 3 pages. Curious to see if there are other mutants in the world. I would love if another creator took the reins on another title to give this book context. So, A, welcome to the channel. I haven't seen your name before. B, I agree it's moving too slow. That seems to be the point, is like really going I want to say going deep, but I feel like it's not going deep. Like it's spending the time in terms of page count with the characters, but I don't feel like it's maximizing the time that we're spending with them, if that makes sense.
It's very vibes based.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I feel like this should be called Ultimate Armor, or something like that. But Ultimate X-Men to me should feature the actual X-Men, or Ultimate Mutants, like whatever. But when you say X-Men, I have a very specific expectation. If we were what, 5 issues into Ultimate Spider-Man and Peter wasn't Spider-Man, that would be weird, right? Like, would anybody else find that to be crazy? I don't know. That would be crazy to me.
New Mutants book, like that feels more apt.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that she doesn't stick around. Like I don't remember if this is an ongoing or not, but my worry is this is so singular and in her style that if sales don't support the book, and I'm not saying that they're not, okay, yeah. But like this cannot be reproduced. You can't just put another creative team on this.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Don J78, welcome. Haven't seen your name before. I'm enjoying the book and have just accepted it's a slow burn. At some point, I'm expecting a showdown with the maker's Asian underbosses. Completely understand why it isn't for everyone, though. That feels, based on what we've read through 4 issues, to me, feels like a big ask.
Down the road, you're probably going to end up right. Like it seems like each book is going to feature the primary characters facing off with the boss of the region that they're in. So you're absolutely going to end up right with that assertion. It's just that in the other Ultimates books, the target is right in front, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, it's still not getting anywhere close to that. Like it doesn't feel rooted in what's happening in the rest of the Ultimate Universe. It feels very siloed. And that for me, isn't working. But again, I'm glad that it is for you and whoever else. Atomic Count says can't stay but a minute. But with the Stakoa going away, can Sean Stack be located on Gray Stack and Lane? Yeah, we could say that. I actually have a story to tell that I will get into after we finish off the reviews. So hopefully you'll hear it down the road, Hound. But yeah, I have an update on all of that. And we did do this Takoa on the main show, episode 399. So I showed that off to everybody that watched us there. You're gonna want to go back if you haven't seen that because it was crazy. And someone managed to get a prize out of it.
Yeah.
We
very
did play the
close.
stat game.
Very close to the number.
Yeah. Yep.
Hound also asked, is Ultimate X-Men the equivalent of the Krakoa era Fallen Angels? It just doesn't fit.
Sorry, I don't think so. In that this is meant to be a deviation ultimately, and so I think that stands, that fits the MO in my mind for what this new Ultimate Universe is meant to be. So I don't know. It fits in that it is a different interpretation and pushing that line.
Loving all the different people I'm seeing chatting, by the way. You guys are great. Uncaged says, I like the book because I want to know what's going on. There's too many books where I already know what's up. African Storm inspires May. What? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, bud. We've done this dance. I want to see the X-Men presented in a traditional but new way, like a new wrinkle on the same old thing. If I see X-Men, that's what I assume I'm going to get, or that's what I hope to get. And I understand that that's not what everybody else is looking for.
And that's what D13CJ concedes that. I do get that on the title, because if it was called something else, it wouldn't sell. I think they trapped the buyer on the first issue with the title.
Yeah, and Zach Pearson says I thought this would be a good entry point for X-Men. Dropped it after one issue. That's the problem. That right there is the problem. When you say X-Men, people have an idea. A jumping on point is a number one, and they're thinking, okay, there's a jumping on point for the X-Men, not for I don't know. I don't even know what to call this.
There's not even any men in this book. Let alone X-Men.
Also true. There's no Professor X.
Tilo says OG Ultimate X-Men is what you guys want, and it was the least interesting book of that line. I've read the first volume of that, and that wasn't what I wanted. I think there was, when we were first reporting on this being a thing, I think some of us might have wanted in the vein of that, but comfortable with it differentiating itself and comfortable with it deviating to build its own identity, especially knowing that Peach Momoko was going to be doing it. Like, she has to be forming and cooking her own type of thing.
I also think that's not fair, because like, we could have all of this. All of this could still be here, just crafted in a different way, and I understand that Peach is building something her way in a way that is trying to respect manga traditions and where the book is rooted itself. But I think you have to play to the audience here too. Like, and maybe she is, maybe we're just not it, but it's it has X-Men in the title and there's no X-Men.
There's no team, and I think that's the core thing I go to an X-Men book for, is a team with team dynamics and character interactions and a bit of a soap opera. there's none of that. It's armor and some side characters we sort of know things about.
And like even worse, all like we're not even getting a new one each time. Like if it were Armor leading the X-Men or whatever, or starting the X-Men in Japan, and that's the X-Men, that's cool. But like these little middle schooler things keep happening, and we don't know, like nothing is clear, nothing is making sense. And we're 4 issues in. How long do we have to sit here and wait until something happens?
Well, we're going to stick it through, at least through the first arc. I definitely want to give the book a full chance to show us what it is about, and what it has to say. Right now, we aren't wowed, but again, there's space for everybody. If you're enjoying it, that is totally cool. And we are not here to yuck your yum. Rocky says, do you think X-Men would suffer in this Ultimate Universe after this run? I'm not sure where they'd go without Peach, but I'm not sure what they would do with her setup and how it'll tie in everything. You know, dude, I think it's one of those things where Peach is going to do Peach until Peach is done. And Peach will leave it in a place where it's not going to look like this, it's not going to feel like this, but where other creators will be able to come and expand upon what Peach has established, probably in a much more traditional way than what we're getting now, because only people like Peach, and by that I mean the super duper talented, right, get to tinker with things in this way. And then the next creative team kind of has to play ball the more traditional way. So,
and the X-Men are always going to sell. Like,
yeah.
Can't wait to see a chibi apocalypse though. That's gonna be cool. Yo, who'd you like to see in chibi form?
Mojo.
Oh,
Jean
MODOK.
Grey.
MODOK already is, basically. You just gotta shrink him.
I know, that's why it's funny.
All right, let's hop over to the DC side of things for a quick detour through the Elseworlds. Batman Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age #1 is the first book in the new Elseworlds line that DC is pushing out. Now, I am holding up a copy of Gotham by Gaslight #1, but unfortunately, this is the facsimile edition of the original Gotham by Gaslight. I got duped. They had all these covers lined up, and I said, oh, okay, I like this one. This one looks pretty cool. It's kind of old school, you know. It's chill. It's got a cool vibe. I'm sure Cale will like it. And
Hey,
yeah,
you're right. You're right. I do like it.
exactly. And so I sit down to read the book, and I'm going, wow, this is a different art style than what I anticipated. And then I'm reading the words, and I'm like, Andy Diggle wrote this? That doesn't seem right. And I look at the front, and I'm like, wait, who's Brian Augustine? Mike Mignola? What happened here? Did the book even come out this week? Am I nuts? Then I saw that DC decided to put the facsimile out alongside the new book, and I fell victim.
Sean, bring up the cover again.
Sure.
They're even using the new trade dressing too for it as well. The border with Elseworlds on the top right.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I would have thought it was a variant too. I'll bust your balls on it, but I that could have happened to me.
Well, I'm not gonna hold that against the book. This was written by Andy Diggle with art by Leandro Fernandez, colors by Dave Stewart, love to see his name, and Simon Boland on the letters. I have not actually read the original Gotham by Gaslight, so I was coming into this blind to any type of, relevant story points from the OG. It didn't feel like there was much of that present, and if there was, it didn't affect my read. It opens with, in ye olden day of 1860, Jonathan and Martha Kent, pushing wagons, Martha, known for her wagon, pushing the wagon this time around, and coming upon the arrival of what we would imagine is Clark Kent hitting the Earth a little early. Then we cut forward to 1893, and we largely follow Selina Kyle as she goes about her business. She's conducting another big heist. We get some Batman involved. There's a certain green ring in the mix, and we see the League of Shadows. That was about it for this book. I really liked it.
Yeah, you say that's about it, but like that's a decent amount for a first issue. Like there's a good
Yeah.
amount. There's meat here. I'm with you too. I like this. I like this a lot as well.
I had a lot of fun. Like, if you ask me, do you need to see Batman and every one of his, his cohorts just transplanted into various times throughout history? Like, do I need that? The answer is no. I actually don't need that, right? And there's three books right now happening that are all out of continuity, happening at different times. The Space Age or whatever it is, the Dark Age Batman, this one, and First Night, right? But I'm loving this. I love it.
Yeah. Do we need another Elseworlds Batman story? No, we really don't. But you put Leandro Fernandez on a book, then you might have gotten me.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna shout out first, man. He's doing real cool stuff in this. I've always liked him, and as his art has progressed, he's gotten more and more detailed in his backgrounds. He has his cartoony style, and I think as a contrast to that, he adds in all these textures. Like even in the buildings, you see there's what was this? This is like maybe 5th, 6th page. There's designs in the things that are actually covering over the edges and corners of the building. The windows for no reason are just decorative. He's adding these small details of the time and to place it, but he doesn't need to do those things. So I think he's doing a lot of real cool work. This is some real cool stuff for him, and it feels like a more structured Tim Sale, if that makes sense.
I can see it. It's Tim Sale and Mignola kind of morphed together in a way.
Yeah.
Little Riso in there as well.
Dude, yeah, the art was really good throughout this book. I'm sure I've seen Leandro before. I just can't think of
the Old Guard.
The Old Guard, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
That was good.
Yeah. So, but it's every page of this is beautiful. The colors are great too. Like I was expecting this book to be kind of older school in terms of its presentation, because of the time frame and everything like that. But it's absolutely gorgeous, and I love the reference to Tim Sale because I even feel like not only does the art have a Tim Sale quality to it, but the colors have the quality of. I'm sorry, I'm not sure who was coloring Tim Sale at the time, but they have those qualities too. It looks like it could have been Dave Stewart. You know what I'm saying? Like he understands how to color that style.
What I really liked about this issue is that the most Batman you really get in this is really in the title and the cover. Like he's in this, well, there's not much. This issue is a Selina Kyle story, really, and I really enjoyed that because like I am a little overfed when it comes to Elseworlds Batman, but give me Elseworlds somebody else, and I might enjoy that more. And I like how this is a time period where women are in women's I guess suffrage and independence is kind of on the up and up, coming up at least, and how Selina Kyle is just leaps and bounds ahead of that, and what she's doing is just really, really interesting stuff, but also core to the character as well. It feels a lot like a year one Selina that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I liked her a lot throughout this book. I actually didn't even realize we hadn't seen Batman And then when I realized we hadn't seen Batman, then Batman came out. So I was like, okay, cool. And I'm happy to say that this portrayal of Batman is pretty sick. I mean, my man was throwing knives, which was insane. And then he also had a bomb. Like, okay.
Like an old school, like cartoon bomb.
Yeah,
Like,
straight up goon.
That was awesome, man. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. If you're gonna give me if you're gonna give me more Batman, let him be different. Let him throw a bomb every now and then. You know? Sure.
And you ever throw
Right.
throwing knives? They're hard to do.
I have not.
Pick of the week.
Yeah. I guess so.
what do we have left?
Geiger and
Geiger, which I know you
Transformers.
don't like it.
I think this was pick of the week too. Yeah.
Nice.
Is this going to be a unanimous pick of the week? No,
Did
it's
you say
not
yours
because
already?
it's not mine. No.
Oh damn. Forthcoming.
Yeah.
Uh,
Dude.
yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, I'm looking forward to the second issue. I feel like the first Gotham by Gaslight, it was okay. You know, the ending I think was a cliffhanger that could have worked a little bit better for me. But this one I was just like, oh, actually I like how this was exploring Selena. I like how where we leave off, and I like that we didn't touch on Superman right away. It feels like that's gonna kind of stew in the background a little bit, because had it been just that, my dude's gonna be saving the world left and right, man. And like, sure, that's his thing, but I think you need a little bit of drama in the world first.
I keep going to look through the book and opening my copy that is not the right issue. I keep doing this. It's annoying.
Did
Uh
you buy this on Comixology?
yeah, sure I did. Comics are dope says, did Sean get duped or did Sean not read and identify a classic cover? Listen, for the sake of me, we're gonna say I got duped, okay? Because realistically, right? Like, damn, dude, you're gonna put this right adjacent to all these other variants that they have. Like, you couldn't have done me a solid right there. It's 11 a.m. I'm trying to get these books so I can get out of this store quick, fast. It was right there.
There's a timer for you as soon as you get up those stairs.
Yeah.
Well, there's a timer for everybody when you go up those stairs.
Uncanny Suit says, well, Sean now has an excuse to do a book club on the OG Gaslight story. Yeah, could happen. It could happen if you guys wanted it.
Midtown Gaslit you for sure.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Comic Boom says, I hope that this first sequel to an Elseworlds classic is not the last. Lots of Elseworld tales deserve to be revisited. Yeah, why not? I think they chose one where it's like it's its own story, but it's also a table setting. Like, you can refer back to this and it's just that time period. You know, sure, why not? Are there other Elseworlds where that could work with? I'm sure there have to be.
And Gotham by Gaslight is like one of those versions of Batman that is like, you need to throw in multiversal Batman, he's showing up because it's just like an archetypal version of it.
Right.
It is implicit on what the difference is between him and modern Batman.
Yeah. Style So Serious says, finally getting caught up on BOP. You guys, Birds of Prey, you guys weren't gassing. Kelly Thompson is murdering that arc. Yes. Yes.
Oh,
No
yeah.
gas here.
Well, this beer is getting to me, but yeah.
You know, I love the fact that we have, you know, like, when you have a relationship with a creator that they do your show or they, you know, they come on here and they talk to us, like, it's great whenever that person also happens to actually be one of your favorite creators. And we've been lucky enough to where, largely, for me at least, that's been true. And Kelly's work has been unbelievable forever, but specifically since she started coming on here, which is when she got on my radar. And then it's like, wow, I get to say that everything she does, I love. It's awesome.
I wish we were eating Birds of Prey this week.
I wish it was out this week. Sheesh.
And it's also cool that the Birds of Prey artist also is in our live chat trolling occasionally, so that's fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So much fun.
Drawing them gloves, dude. I was going through some Krakoa art recently, and I saw,
nasty.
oh man, I saw Celine with them half gloves. I forgot they did it with Celine too.
Damn, half glove to half chub.
Half glove, full chub. Let's talk about Geiger. Geiger number 3. Jeff Johns and Gary Frank talk about full chub. Man, you say those names. Brad Anderson on colors, Rob Lee on letters. Just the GOAT creative team. Really. Does a lot for me. We were promised Junkyard Joe. We were promised the return of Junkyard Yo. And we got it for 3 pages.
Yep.
Kind of almost like
So-
a weird movie style crash course on the character too.
Yeah.
It's like trying to tell the origin really quick in the opening credits.
Which I didn't mind because I like what we got, but I just really was hoping we were gonna see more Junkyard Joe. That was like my big selling point for coming here, and clearly they know that because that's what they promoted this issue on. But this issue really doesn't have anything to do with Joe. It's just more of Geiger and the Nuclear Knight on their journey to find the person who was afflicted the way that Geiger is and managed to solve that. They want to find that person. And, you know, in their path, they come across these mutants, some 2-headed dude, and, you know, all of that. And Geiger gets into a big conflict. And they go to a library and they get some books. And that's about it.
So I did like this issue. I thought, you know, more stuff happened in this issue. I like the introduction of the what are they called? The organ people?
Yeah.
And they're just disgusting people. I like how like it builds that world. It's like, oh, they have this whole airport they took over and they're baiting it with a healthy engine for a car. I was like, all right, that's very Last of Us, it felt like. I like that. I like how there's a little more backstory to is it Barney, the dog? 2-headed dog? 2-headed wolf? I dig that. And I like how it's building this world, but I thought the whole book part was a little much.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was getting beat over the head with a book. That like, oh, books are good and they're important. Yeah, I don't. This feels. I don't know how to say this in any way that sounds nice, but it feels like when it's like height of politics 2020 liberal mom talking about anti-book burning. Like it was like a little much. Like I get it, books are important. I'm reading one right now. You don't need to preach to the choir. I'm doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was an extension of, like, obviously pulling from last issue, and I found that to be a little frustrating just because it purposefully slowed the book down to have this message that I don't even know if it was preachy as much as it just was like, oh, this is an insight that he's having and feeling about. So,
Yeah.
I've been a little. I think last issue I probably said next issue I needed to just pick up, and it hasn't. We're kind of back to this day in the life of being 2 guys in a wasteland, and I think that worked for the first initial couple issues, plus the catch-up issues, and now that we're in this subsequent series, I understand that we need to catch people up who are just coming on board, but this needed to pick up for me. I've been a huge fan of Geiger so far, and I was just skimming through. Like I wasn't leaned in, as Jeff likes to say.
I think we're still in a weird phase where this story is shifting from miniseries to ongoing, and there's a little growing pains still. I think it's gorgeous, and I like a lot of the characters, and I like the character designs a lot. But in terms of the plot and the progression of a issue to issue, no end in sight, really, pacing, I still think there's some growing pains going on.
So I like this issue. You know, I think that Jeff is really good at crafting moments that pull at your heartstrings. I think this issue tried to do that too much. Um, we're still learning about Geiger and, his motivations and stuff like that. I felt like the book stuff was pretty apropos because we already know the character has this deep connection to books, and we know that it's because this is all he has of the world from before. And I think that that is something that makes a lot of sense. And I related to that because I would feel like that. So I don't feel like it was preachy. I felt like, we need to understand what Geiger cares about. And books are the only things left in the world that he cares about. So I like that. Um, I just need to be like the original Geiger mini introduced us to a world of characters that were interesting and weird and unique. And none of them are here anymore. You know, who is going to oppose Geiger? What does the other side of that look like? Geiger as a guy is someone that we're getting to know, and the only way we can really know him is through his deeds and his actions and his word. And he hasn't been put in those positions yet. Not here. We've seen him put in those positions in the miniseries, but not here. So something has to happen to get Geiger to be interesting. And I'm not sure what you know, what the holdup is, I guess.
The holdup is the antagonist of the book is at his heels the entire time, so there's no actual conflict. Like, Geiger doesn't even really know about this guy who keeps showing up at the end of every issue. It's an unknown element, so there's no actual conflict. It's more like, oh, Geiger just has a quest to go forward, but there's no opposing force for him.
Yeah. Um I, Gary Frank is just amazing. I mean, drawing the fight scene, like, oh my God, dude. Can you imagine waking up in the morning on any day, on your worst day, right? On your worst day, you wake up in the morning and you check your email and you have pages delivered to you from Gary Frank and they look like this. I mean, my
I did
God.
not know where that sentence was gonna go.
Dude, what could be better than that? Like, if I wrote a book, if I wrote a comic, and I woke up in the morning and Gary Frank sent me these pages, I could not have a bad life. This is insane. This is insane. Gary Frank is the best.
That subtle touch of one of the Oregon people having a kiss the cook shirt, I was like, that's just fun. That's just him having some fun there.
And you can tell he's having fun, and it's so exciting. And I think that's one of the coolest parts of Geiger and of all these series is that you can see that the creatives are having a blast. Have you ever felt like Jason Fabok was having as much fun as he's having right now on Rook Exodus? You know, like this is the stuff that you hang your hat on as far as a career goes. This is amazing. And this Gary Frank is not a young buck anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's doing this now. Still a pull. I just really, really, really want this series to get some fire up under it.
It's a pull for me too. Yeah, it's staunchly in pull territory.
Gotta do more.
Let's see what the listeners have to say. Moonarch loving this series. This one felt a little slow, but that ending, wow, did not see that coming. Yeah. There's some cool stuff in the tuck, I'm sure. Uncaged says Geiger is also a slow book, but here I'm like 12 total issues in. So Johns has less rope than Peach with me. Yeah, that's valid. And I honestly think the more like the longer that you are connected to any form of entertainment, the easier it is for you to tell whether or not something is for you. At least for me, I'll speak for myself. Like I can tell generally within an issue or so if I'm going to like a book, like if I should read it further or not. I now view issue ones as the creative team's uh, promise to me. Like, this is what you're going to get from this series. This is generally what you can expect from an artistic level, from a creative level, from a thematic level. This is what you can expect. And if I'm not into that, then I pass. If I wasn't doing this podcast, I would not be still reading Ultimate X-Men because I've known from the beginning that it's not for me. James Jones, I did like how Junkyard Joe set up the Unnamed War. Yeah, for sure. It's awesome. I love this stuff. Another fun universe that's being built out is Transformers and the Energon universe. This book won the listener pick poll this week. You guys wanted us to review Transformers number 9. No surprise. We know the love that Transformers has right now is strong. I want to take a quick moment before we get into the review and talk about this week's issue to get into the listener poll that we are doing for next week's episode. A bunch of you have already gotten your votes on. We've got 4 big books that are dropping next week. This is going to be a huge week. If these are the books that are on the poll, think about what's in the show. And we'll talk more about that a little later. What we have on this week's list is Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime #1.
Carl Barks is back?
Yeah, man. This is Jason Aaron.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Doing
for real?
Yeah. Jason. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Cale, wait, what was that reaction?
I
Cale.
completely forgot about. I know too much. That's what that reaction is.
Not only that, there is a Frank Miller variant.
Completely forgot about that. Oh.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. So that's got 15% of the vote right now. Wonder Woman #10. Yes, I did it. Okay, I put Wonder Woman back on the docket. Why? Because fuck me. That's why.
No, I know why, Sean. Look at that cover. Look who is being teased in that.
Sean.
Oh, Wonder Woman broke Sean apparently. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So Wonder Woman #10 has 25% of the vote. At 23%, right below it, World's Finest #28. I think this continues the Mitsapudlik and Batmite story. Is that how you say it? How do you say it, Cale?
I think it's Mixospittle. Mixospittle. I don't know.
Sure. I trust you. You read more DC Comics than me. But winning right now, there's 60 votes already. Winning at 37% is Immortal Thor #12.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. So Immortal Thor. You guys still reading this?
Thor? Yeah.
Yeah.
I fell off after issue 10, but I need to get back to it. I'm actually planning to do like a nice read tonight because I want to get back into this.
So Sean. Yeah, so Sean's coming back in a second, so we're just waiting for Sean.
I'm glad that Wonder Woman is not winning. I need to catch up. Although Yara's on the cover.
Well, I was gonna say Sean's picking it because Cheetah's on the cover, and then he just got so excited about Cheetah that his computer just exploded. So yeah, don't worry about the Civil War II screen that just popped up. Ignore that, guys. Don't look behind. Look at the man behind the curtain. Never mind. Members will figure that out later on. But yeah.
Well, yeah, they will.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, we did something yesterday.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So Sean will be back. Let's just get into the beginning of Transformers. I'll recap Transformers while Sean's gone, if that's cool. So with Transformers #9, this is written by Danny Warren Johnson, art by Jorge Corona, and colors by Mike Spicer. this kind of continues the story of the Autobots versus the Decepticons, but we're finally getting a little more information about the Decepticons' kind of modus operandi here. This one has Soundwave. In the last issue, he kind of contacted Shockwave what's the Transformers world called? Cybertron. He contacted Soundwave at Cybertron, and they finally found a way to link Cybertron to Earth to bring in reinforcements. So that's a big deal, and that kind of gets tackled here. Meanwhile, so the Decepticons are doing all this, getting a lot of more reinforcements, and the Autobots are still kind of on the less strong foot. So they're kind of reeling from the events of the main first arc. Meanwhile, the Decepticons are really regaining forces, much like the Avengers should have done in Blood Hunt. What did you, Marco? What did you think of Transformers #9?
I'm lost amongst the characters. Like, there's so many of them. The design work for them is a little hard sometimes to distinguish. And actually, one of the things I was going to note was, not a disservice to Jorge Corona, but when he does that, and Tyler, you're going to have to correct me here on the terminology for this move, but when he does like the slam down.
You slam down, yes, the WWE slam down.
Is that?
Have you ever heard of a pile driver?
The tool?
That is not a tool, actually. It's a screwdriver.
When he does that, it's not as flexible. There's the lines stay consistent. There is no elasticity. You know how we talk about Jorge Jimenez and how he can be elastic and dynamic, and Danny Warren Johnson similarly can do that. I think the art stays consistent from a style perspective, but when it comes to certain execution, I really felt a difference in this one. And again, not to discredit Corona because he's doing good work. It's just not the same dynamics, I think.
To bring up that pile driver page, I did see, like, what my reaction to that was, Corona is continuing what Danny Warren Johnson does, but wrestling isn't his forte.
Yeah.
DWJ did it because he's a friggin' mark. He's a wrestling head. He did do a powerbomb, for Christ's sake. So he has a love for that, and I feel like Corona's version of it was like, all right, I need to do a wrestling move because that's kind of what we've been doing here, and maybe it was even in the script. But what didn't look as good. It's a nitpick in my opinion, but I did see that as well.
I'm not saying that's points off on the book. I'm just saying that's a distinction between Corona and Johnson.
I don't know. I don't know if it is a nitpick. Actually, at least in the construction, right? We can all agree Jorge Corona is very strong and very talented and the art in this is really, really good. But that moment felt very put in. Like when I turned the page and got that pile driver, it kind of took me out of it, actually.
I felt like I was reading the ingredients of a chicken nugget, Like, chicken nuggets are delicious, but I'm seeing it now, and maybe I'm questioning, like, why is this here?
Yeah.
I never thought I would be so disappointed in seeing a Tombstone pile driver in a comic book. Like,
Tombstone pile driver. Yeah,
Daniel Warren Johnson talks about how he wrote that in and was so looking forward to wanting to see that, but it just doesn't hit. And I think DWJ understands the anatomy of a pile driver because he's a wrestling fan and he's probably seen many of them done. But if you haven't, then understanding exactly how to show it in a way that makes it look the coolest it could possibly look is something that you're not necessarily going to get. And, Corona tried, but it just didn't work. That moment didn't work.
For me, that's the only moment that didn't work in this because I thought the rest of the issue was really good. I think, and I'm curious to see what Cale and Sean think, we're finally getting all right, there's stuff happening right now. Things are happening. Things are being There's multiple plot threads that are coming to a head. And I thought overall the Corona art was very good. Like that one bit with Ratchet and Cliffjumper. I was like, all right, there's Danny Warren Johnson doing his Danny Warren Johnson thing. It's not drawn by him, but it's like, oh, shot to the gut immediately. Literally, I guess, too.
This was I enjoyed this issue of Transformers more than any of the ones I've read of late. For sure, just because there's a lot more going on, and you know, some new players have entered the mix, which was kind of cool. I just struggle with like who's who. Like I truly don't know who's who. And that's kind of, I mean, that's on me, I guess, ultimately, but it hurts my reading of the book 'cause I can't just like enjoy it. I have to think about, wait, which guy is this? Which one?
Well, and the two main villains are Soundwave and Shockwave. Like
Right.
I lost track quick, and I just like I couldn't get it back. And I was, the last episode, I was the #1 Soundwave fan, and I just like I felt like I couldn't get it back this time, and really, really took me out of this issue.
And Sound Shock looks cool, man. Like, I like the design, but
Oh my god. I feel like I feel like I'm the veteran Transformers fan, and I've read the same amount of Transformers books as you guys.
there's just and Style So Serious makes a comment. Sounds like readers that don't have the nostalgia factor for Transformers. It reads like Robot #1 punches Robot #2. Awesome, right? And like sparks are supposed to fly both on the page and flutter my heart, but
I think you have that with certain characters, and like Cliffjumper has an arc. He has a characterization. Jazz sort of does. Optimus does. And I really like the bit with the Decepticons where like it doesn't matter who's in charge. Optimus Prime will just be like, "Nah, you're a shit leader. You're not Megatron," essentially, and everyone has to pale in comparison to Megatron. And it's every time somebody steps up to lead the Decepticons, they're overcompensating constantly. I like there are bits like that, but like one of the big parts of this book is a new Autobot shows up, and it's Beachcomber, and I'm like, that sounds like a GI Joe character. I don't know who that is.
See, he showed up, and I went, man,
Yeah, who? Who are you?
another one? What? Come on. This one's got a chin. Like, I saw that and I went, you know what? I think this is where I check out. I think I'm done.
Honestly, I even enjoyed this issue, and I just sort of think I've had my fill. And I've had this experience, like I had my fill of TMNT, when I was reading that a decade ago. I had my fill of Power Rangers, which I was really digging for a while. Then it was just like, you know what? This was cool. I'm good. And I just feel like I'm there. Like, there's nothing offensive about this. It's perfectly fine. I had an enjoyable time with this issue. I think if you're a Transformers fan or you're just really hot on this stuff, you will absolutely love it. But for me, I'm just cool. I don't know.
And I would say there's a good thing there too, because like this whole Energon universe, like you might not be really enjoying this, but some of that GI Joe stuff you're really into.
Yeah.
So you might still get to see these characters down the line in different flavors. Like I really like this Transformers. This is my pick of the week. But I think the world, the Energon universe world, is just a great thing because it is different strokes for different folks. In all of it, even if you don't like this, you can still say it's a quality book.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a win across the board, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll say pull.
Yeah, I'll say pull.
I'll say pull for quality, but I think I'm done.
The question is, are the listeners going to let us be done? Do they want us done? We put it in the poll. You guys voted in, so I guess that means we have to read it. Am I at the point where I'll take it out of the poll? Cale, is that where you're at?
Where you should take it out of the poll?
Yeah.
No, but I think I'm at the point where I'm gonna start getting grumpy about Transformers. When it wins.
He's hitting the Cale limit.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Fair enough. Make sure you guys get your vote on to determine what makes it into the show next week. We've got great books. We went over those earlier. We have the stack to get to. We are going to, you guys know how the stack goes. We're going to get into that in a moment, but I want to talk to you guys about something that is happening. So, hey, what's up, Inkology? He says, yeah, be done. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. So I recently had to make the difficult decision to put my comic book collection in storage. I have almost 20 years worth of comic books that I have collected, and I have never thrown out a comic. The only times that I've had to throw comics out are when I first got my dog and she was dealing with separation anxiety and she ate some of my books up. But outside of situations like that, every comic that I have gotten over those near 20 years, I have collected. And so I have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 long boxes full of comics and thousands of comics still not in long boxes. So when all said and done, I'll probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 18 long boxes full of comics, and that would represent my collection of floppies. That says nothing about trades, that says nothing about hardcovers or omnibuy and all that good stuff. I have a shitload of comics. And there is renovation going on where those comics are located, where the majority of my collection is located. And I had to put them in storage. So I'm at a place with my collecting comic books where I'm kind of at a crossroads, and it's actually kind of making me feel things. It's making me a bit emotional because I have to figure out what I want to do. Do I want to keep collecting and just see where this takes me, in another 20 years, how many books am I going to have, like where does this go? Do I throw out my collection, toss it, donate it, sell it, whatever, the bulk of it, maybe choose a cutoff point, or just keep the stuff that I really, really love, which will still be a huge amount of books. But do I get rid of the stuff that I don't care about? Do I do that? Or do I just say goodbye to it all? Do I just get rid of it all? Do I just go digital or start fresh with a new collection that begins today and then do this again in another 20 years? Like, I really don't know what to do. And I feel like I'm at a real crossroads. And I never thought I would be making these choices or having to think about these things, but I do.
Or do we finally open the shop? You heard it here first, folks. Sean's collection for sale. That's the starting place for the Pals comic produce store. Fuck.
Wow.
Yeah, you really fumbled that one. Jeez.
Wow.
Produce?
With like peas and stuff.
Produce.
Came up with produce. Vegetables.
Yeah. Eggplants.
Eggplant.
Come to the Comic Pals comic store where we sell comics and vegetables.
Marco looked like he was turning into a vegetable the way his brain was melting towards the end there. So it's funny, Sean. This happened to me too when I moved out of my parents. I had to decide what I was doing with my comics. I had to put them in. To be fair, I put them in my parents' storage, but it wasn't in my possession anymore. And that's when I stopped collecting physically. That was it for me. That was the Band-Aid being ripped off for me. It's funny because recently my dad was like, hey, I kind of want to use my storage, so can you get your comics back? So I have the opposite happening to me currently, where I had to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with mine. But that was the impetus where, like, if I didn't see it in person, I didn't see those numbers growing and those boxes stacking, a little bit of the enjoyment was gone. As much of an addiction as that sounds. Sometimes you like to see the numbers go up. You like to see the collection get bigger. And when you don't see it, and it's out of sight, out of mind, makes you reevaluate, like, then why am I doing it?
I I had I had the opposite of that where I would keep the comics and treat them almost like as ephemeral. Like I read the story, and now it is no longer mine. I have a space out in my building where you can kind of put books that you want to just give away. And whenever I pick up weekly books, if it's not like a Swamp Thing or something that I really want to keep, I just go straight there. I read the thing. And if we're doing the show that week and it's a book that I've covered, I keep it for the show, and then it goes on, ideally to the hands of somebody else who's going to enjoy it. Because I only have so much space in this apartment, and I had to do some culling when I moved here last year, and I think that was the best. That to me felt the best way to not get rid of what it is, but I think to share the emotional impact of those things that I had a connection with, and that's the way that I kind of the perspective I came into it with.
Hey, always laughing. Love to see you in the chat, buddy. How you doing? He said they say it's funny. I check in on the gang on live, and I literally just finished filling up my first 2 long boxes. Love you guys and love the community. We love you too. Appreciate you. I love shouting your name out every single week on the main show. Yeah, guys. I mean, for me, it's I don't feel like I collect because I am like a hoarder or anything like that. It's just that I buy comics because I love to read them. And then I read them and I don't throw them away because why would I throw them away? They're art. It's just the problem of the physical space that they have to occupy because they are physical things. But I find that when I read things digitally, I just don't feel the same connection. So I know that my connection to comics is tethered to the physical nature of it. I enjoy the ritual process. That's why I don't have a pull list. I like going and selecting the books, even though, it opens up the door for shit like this to happen. That's a part of the magic. Like I come here and talk about it because it's funny and I don't mind poking fun at myself, but ultimately I'm not bothered by that. Like I'll go next week and get the right book. I don't give a fuck. Um, it's fun, and it's one of the few things in my life that like I just purely enjoy. And I feel like if I took the physical nature away, then I'd be changing my ability or taking away from my ability to enjoy this. And why would I want to do that? Right? So I'm really at a loss. I don't know what to do.
How much space do you have in the storage unit?
Well, it's like $200 a month. That's untenable.
Yeah,
I can't sustain that. So
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, it
Rent.
feels like change your the perspective of it being a collectible art. Like I think you can still go through the ritual, but um, give it to the kid on the subway afterwards, or like I always had the thought of like pass it on to the next generation of comics lovers, because as much as like when we were young, we would take somebody else's comic, maybe people who read digitally pirate the comics. Like, hey, you know what? Take it. That's yours. People are saying donating and bringing new readers. I think maybe there's a responsibility there.
When I ran that comic book trivia at a brewery nearby, Marco brought a whole bunch of his books and was giving them out to people. And people were like, "Oh, this is cool." He was bringing out like Michael Fife signed issues of Copra, like,
Yeah, bro.
and
Yeah,
people
dude.
were just like, "Yeah." People were having fun with it.
And some of those people won't appreciate it to the same degree, but I'm sure somebody there, like your brother Tyler, he got first picks on like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, he was excited. Yeah.
Yeah, he was hyped, and that was cool because then I was chatting to him, then I was chatting to the girl next to him, then I was chatting to like whoever else was there, and it just it builds that community.
yeah, Inktology says give your comics as prizes for listeners, build that community. Roboters says, Sean, don't fall into the regret of giving up your collection. So many I know wish they would have held on to their stuff if they could have. That's something that I have heard so many times. And obviously, for the older heads, it's a little bit more significant because, a lot of times they actually might have had things of material value that they would kill to have now, right? Like imagine having some of those early appearances and number ones and things like that. You know, um I don't know that I have anything of that level of value. That's not why I do it. I don't buy comics for that reason. But even still, it's nice to know you have something that's worth something. If I have kids, I'd love to be able to, you know, give that to them or what have you. So there are those kinds of considerations. And I know for a fact that when I am, if I get to be 80 or whatever, I'm going to wish that I had my comic book collection. I'm positive about that.
I guess my question to that would be, are you gonna wish you had every single one? Because maybe that's the thing. Like, you've got how many issues of Blood Hunt now, and Night Terrors and Beast World? Do you need them?
Like, sure, your copies of Doomsday Clock. Yeah, keep those. But do you
Sure.
need copies of, I don't
Wonder
know,
Woman?
a weird Moon Knight run you didn't care much for,
Issues 1, 2, and 3 of the Doctor Strange book we started reading last year.
And also,
Trash.
well, first of all, that Doctor Strange book is very good.
It was good. It was really good.
Second of all, but like, how many books that you
That's
go
true.
through, you're like, Sean, how is that book? I don't know. Like, so what is the value there for you?
Okay, so that's
a
that's
great
the
point.
other side of this, where it's like I need to sit on somebody's chair or couch and
The
have
long
a
couch,
conversation. Yeah.
Not the leather one in the room, but yeah.
Honestly, I've been recently putting a lot more effort into trying to read more comics, and I've made a lot of strides, but the truth is that there was a long period of time where I was buying way, way, way more comics than I was reading.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't know. Part of it is like, well, I'm going to get to it eventually, and it's that, and it's that's a mentality that I'm sure a
FOMO.
lot of comic book readers can relate to, where I'm just like, I'll get to it eventually, but that eventually doesn't come.
And it's also sometimes it's like, well, I did get to it at a certain point. I need to keep going. It's that sunk cost fallacy, I think is the term, right? Like,
Yeah.
you've already put so much work, money and time into, I don't know, Daredevil. Like, I've read every Daredevil run since I've been reading comics. But like, there's some of the Solid Dead and Med stuff that I haven't gotten to yet. But I'm just gonna keep buying it because it's Daredevil. Same with Saga. I'm so behind on Saga, but Saga is one of the few books I have every single issue in physically because I have to.
Oh, you get it physical? I have the subscription on Kamisaji. I haven't read it since
It is literally the only book I will go to
Same.
the store for because I've done it from the beginning. I have every issue.
Oh shit, that's actually the only one for me that I have recurring automatic.
But that's collector mentality. Like, it is, I don't want to say an addiction, but it kind of is.
I guess I don't know, man. It's hard because it's also art, and it's also a genuine love, and there's a genuine joy there. Like, here's the thing most people wouldn't know about. So I'm obsessed with wrestling. Everybody knows that. What most people don't know is that I have every single episode of Raw, SmackDown, and every pay-per-view that was shot between the year 2003 and 2011-ish. I have on tape every single episode. That is insane. That is really crazy. It's because when I was a kid, I didn't see a world where like all that stuff would just be online, right? Like, I thought I would need them so that I could watch that stuff again. I have a really hard time letting go of things. I thought that I would need those things to live my life, and I don't. You
never know when you're gonna need to see Eugene's third televised match.
Right. And of course, I don't need to see it. I never go back to that stuff. And, I have the network for that, the WWE network, if I want to. So maybe it's just like the same thing with comics. I just need to sort of let go.
Especially of the stuff you don't care about.
Right. If it doesn't spark joy.
Thank it for its service. I just got rid of my old desk. Genuinely.
The one that broke on you?
I showed you guys a picture. I used to, my computer and everything, I used to have an old writing desk that had arms that held up the the flat part, and it broke. It broke on me one day, and it's just been sitting in the corner. And yesterday I finally had a day off, so I took it, and as I took it down the stairs, I said, "Hey, thanks, desk. You helped me do a lot of work. I've done a lot of great work. I'll miss you."
And then it turns
And then you
around.
just let it go.
Why are you leaving me?
But on the other end of the spectrum, like, I do understand Sean, because like right here. This is my dad's issue of King Size annual, like Avengers Annual 10 or whatever. First appearance of Rogue that he gave to me. He kept these his entire life, and he gave it to me. And like, I have a whole bunch of cool issues because I have all like most of the good Claremont X-Men stuff, and like that got me into the medium. So like, I know there's always that, like, well, maybe I can pay it forward in a way for another generation, whether it's my child or not, who knows. But I get that.
But that's different from like, issue 7 of Poison Ivy.
I get, yeah, but the thing is, like, he didn't know this was important.
Well, but it's important to you now.
Yeah, because it's Rogue's first appearance and it has monetary value. That's why.
Well, all right, fair enough.
He didn't know the Rogue, who is not even on the cover, I don't think. She is, it's very, very small, would be an important character. Like, you never know. You never know.
It's really tough. Aaron Ruiz says, "What do you do with the free comic book day issues? You also keep them?" When I get them, yeah, I keep them. I just don't throw comic books out. It's just never been a thing I've done.
I used to leave the free comic book day issues when I used to like work in a setting, like a place of work. I would just leave them in the lunchroom. I'd be like, "Hey, free books. Anyone can read them. Have fun."
Uncanny Suit says, "My nightmare is when I'm 80 and I'm going through my old floppies and I'm buried alive in all my Secret Wars Battle Worlds tie-ins." Dude, oh my fucking God. You could absolutely bury my body in Civil War tie-ins. There is no doubt. You could bury my body in Civil War tie-ins.
That really important tie-in issue of Cable and Deadpool.
Have it.
Same.
Have it.
Like, how much New 52 do you have?
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. Yeah.
Which, like, honestly, I think it's safe to say probably a lot of that won't be relevant.
But is that what you're collecting the art for, right? Not for the experience of it, and not for the like, if it's just the monetary value associated to it, then I feel like you're separating it from the art.
Yes. To answer your question, yes. When I collected physical books, I collected it as not a true speculator. I'm too broke for that. But it was like, oh, this is the first appearance of somebody. I need to bag and board this immediately. I did pick up issues of, stuff that, to complete runs because it was a collecting thing. It was like, not that I can sell it, but there's a reason why I have a slabbed issue of Saga #1. There's a reason why I slabbed my first Hawkeye #1.
Yeah, Marco, I'm more in the artistic camp of I buy these things because I love the artistic value that they have. I've never cared about the monetary value.
Mine sounds like the more autistic sense of it, but
Well,
the
no,
way that
I mean,
I need to do this. Yeah.
That's the investment aspect of it, right? Like, I don't think that's a wrong approach necessarily. I don't think that's where I land on it for that.
Right. Inkology says, "I think giving your comics away to people who support this channel or you for is better than supporting stores or online subscriptions because of the personable connection with y'all." Hey, dude, anytime that I have the ability to give back something to you guys, I want to do it. We've got the Patreon, and we definitely, we've got giveaways going on this month, and gonna do a giveaway. We should do it tomorrow on the Discord. So like, we're always giving stuff away. I got to send a guy a copy of Inferno that I had, a duplicate of Hickman's Inferno that I had. I sent a guy a duplicate of Fantastic Four by Hickman Omnibus that I had. Now, granted, I lost the bet, but the point is, we're all about the give back.
Semantics.
The problem is that when you're talking about a collection, right, of tens of thousands of comic books, how do you even begin to give that away in a way that doesn't break my bank? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do I, like, even if I wanted to, let's say, for example, send someone the Krakoan era of comics, how would I do that? You gonna come get it?
Yeah.
Is somebody gonna lug their car over here to grab that from me? Because I'm not sending that out.
Rami probably would.
Well,
Sure.
that
Yeah, we
that's
know
a
where
little
the
different.
locals are.
Rami's a hop, skip, and a jump away from me,
Yeah.
right? But
Sean, will this relocation also be a re inventory? Are you going to be going through, or are you just moving it just to move it, or but are you going to like go in and like make note of what you have while you have the chance?
so there's a certain amount of boxes, long boxes that are perfectly organized and meticulously kept, and that goes to about I don't know, 2018, and then everything after that is just thrown in.
Do you
So
have inventory of that? Like, can you say which issues you have?
hell no.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's the Wild West.
Are you familiar with CLZ comics at all?
I've heard of that, yeah, but I don't even want to get into all that, to be honest
Okay.
with you. Like,
So
that
we're
seems
seeing how we're different
so
collectors now.
time-consuming.
Yo,
Yeah.
I love that app, dude.
Dude, it's so good. You can scan the
It-
barcodes. It's so good.
I used to use that when I was on the hunt for every single Swamp Thing issue, like all the runs, all that stuff, dude. I'm in there, all the things. I stopped. Wow, I haven't thought of that.
The good thing about it too is that it'll tell you like what's a key issue. Like, oh, this is the first appearance of Batwoman or something. Where it might not really seem like it from the book because it just was a throwaway thing, but it has benefits to it.
Well, let's hit a few more comments before we get into the stack. I appreciate you guys having this vulnerable conversation with me. It is a big thing to have to think about what to do with a collection that spans 20 years. Like, I was looking at that stuff and I'm like, damn, my life is in those boxes. Like, I spent so many hours sitting and reading those comic books. Like, they're so important to me.
Reading?
Every single book that's in one of those long boxes is something that I've read. Yeah.
Oh,
That's not the stack. That's the Koa.
right.
Let's see. Style So Serious says maybe just me, but for some reason I have this belief paper will be really scarce in the future and all media printed using it will become exponentially valuable. Well, my friend, it sounds to me like you have the makings of a very interesting post-apocalyptic story that maybe you should start writing, because you could be right about that. And if you are, then let me tell you something, brother. I am trading issues of Night Terrors. I am trading issues of Night Terrors for Lay's potato chip bags,
Yeah. Spam.
Pepsi bottles. I don't know about spam, and pretzels and popcorn. I will trade Night Terrors issues for those things.
John's about to be the dairy-free kingpin.
Yeah,
Hell
seriously.
yeah, dude. Love it. AC Joe wants to know, for digital readers, how often do you reread your comics?
I don't even
Never.
reread my physical comics.
Yeah, I think the digital format makes it so that it's more quickly consumable. Like, like it's there. It makes it that much more ephemeral. Where like I know this thing is on a shelf and I can go back to it and pluck it out. I like that.
Adam Smith says, I recycle mine, but then again, I grew up in a cluttered house, and it doesn't take Freud to figure out why I'm a minimalist.
Yo, I loved Uncaged response to that. He said Adam Smith needs my address.
Dude, I grew up in a cluttered house, but the thing is that I went the other way. Like, I grew up with hoarders, and I think I kind of like I don't want to say that I became one, but I just told you guys that I have every fucking tape for almost a decade of wrestling.
Skating a
And
thin line.
yeah, so I guess I kind of have some tendencies.
I'm picturing
interesting.
Meltzer's office, Sean.
Aaron says, where's Hound? He's another one that gets a lot of comics. I'd be interested in his take.
Yeah.
How does he separate and pick out, and I know he stopped reading through various points in his career.
There's also a space thing. Like, Sean lives in New York City, you know?
That's the problem.
You're a man of a certain age in New York City. You only have so much space.
Hound probably has the capacity to maybe dedicate a room to his comics. And if I could do that, I wouldn't have a problem. You know, if I had a room that could just be long boxes, I'll fill that shit up for the rest of my life.
Same. I would be buying physical comics if that was the case. If I had the room, hell yeah. I think it looks like good shelf porn, you know?
Yeah. Inkology says, I see if I wanted a series, I'd pay shipping for them. He also says, you guys rock, loving this channel. Well, hey, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And if I do decide to go down that road, then certainly you guys will be aware of that for sure.
Neighborhood Merc says, I'm going through the same dilemma in a way. I've decided to get rid of a lot of stuff and replace them with collected editions. I'm sort of doing that too. Sort of. Very, very micro scale.
If it's a rereadable thing, I'm getting it in a collected edition, like a hardcover or something.
I've had that thought too, but it's like, dude, like, look at what we did with the Stokoa, right? And how fun that was. Like, I like that we can have that. Like that I can have that. I can pull out every issue of 5 years worth of comics and not just these big, bulky omnibuy and collected editions. Can never win. Let's answer Uncanny's question real fast, and then we'll do the stack. Uncanny says, what is the worst event that you probably have all the issues for?
Easy. Shadowland. It's Daredevil. I was buying it no matter what.
If by event you mean like, all-encompassing line-wide deal that have all the issues for, I don't have all of the issues for anything if you're including tie-ins. If you're just talking about a straight-up event, then you're asking me what's the worst event that I've ever read. The answer is Night Terrors. Well, yeah, or Invasion. I don't have those issues physical, so Night Terrors.
You can guess mine.
Onslaught.
Surprisingly, not handed out at that brewery, Marco.
Yeah, whoa, I'm not. I don't want to give those away. I genuinely had a lot of fun with that issue, in spite of, or like the run, in spite of the quality. It's a moment in my life. Damn, you know what, Sean? I take it all back. I'm a fucking liar.
See? Any other answers to that one?
I genuinely don't know. My situation is a little bit different. Well, it's very different from all of yours. I have not lived in the same country as my comics in almost 10 years. And so when I left New York, I actually gave three great big boxes of comic books to a friend, because I under the assumption that if I gave them to her, they would be cared for and read and given out and stuff. And I keep kind of meaning to. I actually haven't spoke to this person in a while, and I keep meaning to kind of call and be like, "Hey, let's work something out so I can get all those back," because it's been so long, and there's so much that similar to Sean, like it's the stuff I've been collecting through my whole life. I don't even know what's in there really anymore.
Right? Like you open that long box or whatever, however they're stored for you, and it's like a window into the past for you.
Yeah.
And I almost don't even feel that same thing. Like if I read Civil War again, right? And I open the trade, that's one thing. When I open Civil War and I read the individual issues, that's a whole other experience for me. That's like getting transported.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Let's hit the stack. Let's do it. You guys know the routine around here. Every single week we review the books, and then at the end of the show we get into all of the books that I bought that week, and whoever can guess that number closest without going over wins a no prize, or they can claim the digital code for any of the Marvel books that we didn't read on the show this week. We start at 5. We know about the 5 books. So how many books am I adding to my stack this week? How many books do I need to transport to storage?
I think it's just a solid 10 this week.
Or get rid of.
Or get rid of.
Or pass on.
Or pass on.
Yeah, 10. 10 sounds good.
You can't choose mine. That's not fair.
Fine. I'm gonna do 11.
You can undermine me.
Plus 1.
9.5. No. I say 13. 13. Lucky 13. Taylor Swift's in Liverpool today. Lucky number 13. Let's go.
Wow.
Gonna shoot your shot.
Oh, she's staying here.
Oh, she crashing with you?
Yeah. She's on an air mattress down in the she's Blake's sleeping with her.
Oh, tell her I said hi.
Yeah.
She'll know what that means.
Right. Let's see those numbers rolling in. I want to read this comment while we get some numbers. Roboters 100 says, reading all the issues in Civil War makes you absolutely loathe Tony Stark far more than if you just read Civil War, as it's lonesome. I see what you mean. I think other writers handled Tony's perspective with less grace and nuance than Mark Miller did, as hard as that is to believe.
Yeah.
Dan just shows up with 16 again. So thanks, Dan.
I didn't even know Dan was here.
Me too. Does he have a
Could've
bot?
been in.
Maybe I don't know.
He probably just happened to show up and was like, "Ooh, this is probably about the time they do the stack."
Uncaged rather says, I have a lot of super good Ultimate X-Men covers, like all design variants, 2 1 out of 100 variants. I'll eventually sell it and buy Ultimate trades. So that's very interesting. And Uncaged is a person who is newer to the collecting of comics, right? So I'm so curious, what about this book and this time made you say, you know what, I want to get these, I want to dive into getting some of those rarer covers. And like, do you know for sure that you'll one day want to sell them? Or is there any part of you that says, you know, I want to keep this for posterity, I want to keep this for the memories? Like, where do you fall on that line?
That's actually interesting because the Autumn Lands was an image book that started out as Tooth and Claw, I believe, and I was getting all of the individual the cover A's and the cover B's for all of that. Benjamin Dewey and oh my god, I'm forgetting the writer. But to that
Busiek, wasn't
experience, yes, Busiek, yeah. But as a newer reader and somebody who was just getting into that was the allure, was that it was also exciting. It felt like a shiny thing that I was chasing.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, for some reason I've never been inspired enough to like cover hunt in that way. If I can't find it, if it's not on the rack of books that came out that week, I'm probably not getting it. I've bought very few like, you know, incentive variants in my life. I want to do more though. I do want to do more. There was a sick X-Men 35 variant. It was a Scott and Jean one that I really want. All right. We've got our numbers in. Cale, you want to rattle those off or?
I think Marco should do it this week.
Okay.
Alrighties. In that case, we got Uncanny at 11, Aaron Ruiz at 12, Rami at 13. Oh, James Jones, perennial winner, at 14. Dan 16, Comic Boom 13. Pretty good spread. And then I had 11. Tyler had 10.
All right. Cale, where you at? Oh,
I said 13.
Right. What's up, Sean Ali in the chat? What's up to you? All
What's
right,
up,
so
dog?
we got the 5 that we did for the show. And what else? We've got Fantastic Four, number 21, Blood Hunt tie-in. I'm not this far into the book, but I have been catching up with this. I've been reading a lot of comics lately. Caught up with Fantastic Four nearly to this issue. It's been great. Really good stuff. Napalm Lullaby, number 4.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. This
Kept
was
up.
good. This was good, but I don't know, like I'm not on the hook the way I want to be.
It was the other Remender, right?
Remender and Bengal, yes. The Bengal art is
that's right.
bonkers. Crocodile Black, number 2. Some developments in this one, but honestly, I'm not really connecting too much with this. I expected PKJ to like really come out the gate super strong, and it doesn't feel like that's what's happening here.
Gonna read that tonight.
Lawful, number 1. This is a new Greg Pak book, actually. Good. It's got the quick premise is it's a world where when you do bad things, like when you do things that are against the rules of society, so like jaywalking or doing anything like that, you start to change and you become more monstrous. And there are people walking around with hooves and claws and horns because they commit sins against the society. And the main character is a person who has done very, very, very minimal sinning, but he's starting to realize that these aren't just things that are morally wrong. These are things that are against what the government says you're allowed to do. So it's an interesting concept. X-Men Heir to Apocalypse, number 1. It was fine. Could have happened in any era. The Amory Wars, number 2. Love Coheed and Cambria. Had to buy the book. Green Lantern, number 12.
Great cover on that one. I saw that one.
Yes.
Later. Yeah.
Hot cover. We got to have Jeremy Adams on this podcast.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to make that happen.
I'm going to make that happen in July, I think. That's what I want. God's number 8, the finale.
Some chatter in the chat about how good that was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get to it. I haven't gotten to it. The Deviant, number 6. I'm still picking this up. Incredible Hulk, number 13. Another PKJ book. Miles Morales, number 21. Another Blood Hunt tie-in. What's that?
Sean, I think that's one you can drop off.
I'm about to catch up, dude. I have to. I'm way behind, though. That's it.
I got 16.
Yeah.
Was it 15 or 16?
I had 15. I had the 5 plus 10.
I went over, so.
I was over.
I'd count 16 right here.
Oh, well, can't do math.
Marco, learn how to count.
Can't do math good.
So,
Damn,
Cale wins, right?
all those damn. No, I said 13.
No.
Oh my
Dan
God,
wins.
Dan
Wait,
wins.
that's Dan.
Oh, Dan! Oh, Dan!
Dan's
my
lucky number.
God.
Dude just did a drive-by and won.
That's so funny because he drops the same freaking number every week and it finally came up. That's like playing the lotto.
Sometimes.
Always gonna happen.
Yep.
Wow,
Wow.
dude. Well, Dan, if it matters to you, if you want, you've got Incredible Hulk, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Gods, and Fantastic Four to choose from. You want the codes for any of those books, you hit me up privately and we'll get that done for you. That's so funny that 16 came up. Did anybody else guess 16? No.
I think one other person.
Who else?
No?
I don't think so.
Like
No,
just-
it was 13 I got twice. Never mind.
It's Dan's number. I think people know not to step on it.
Yeah, right?
Oh my goodness. Did Uncaged ever answer? Yeah. Uncaged said, my experience with Poison Ivy informs my decision to buy the variants for Ultimate X-Men. If I love it, I want it all in one place. I have Ivy ratio variants. I'll sell those when the hardcovers come out. Okay.
You know, the upsell idea is not bad, you know, especially if you can sell some of it.
Sure. Yeah. You guys make this a lot of fun to come and do every week. We have a big show planned for you this Saturday. A huge milestone for us. Episode 400 is coming. You don't have long to wait. This Saturday, 10:15 a.m. Eastern, we are accepting all manner of messages from you guys. You want to message us, get at us with a video, audio, chat, comment, whatever. You can send all that to us at contact@thecomicspals.com. That is our email address. You can also just DM us anywhere and we'll get it. We're going to do giveaways that day. We've got the countdown to our #1 Comics Pals moments going on. Look towards our Discord for a giveaway coming up, by the way, Friday. Look to the Discord for that. So if you're not already on there and you're listening to this on Friday or Thursday night or whatever, get on Discord so that you can be a part of that giveaway. It's going to be a real simple and easy thing. So we'll be talking more about that on the Discord server. Other than that, see you guys on Saturday. Thank you guys for another great episode of Pals